Hello, everyone. This is Ernie Humphrey, the CEO of Treasury Webinars. I am thrilled to have with me as my co-speaker for my session, Mike Richards. Mike, you're infamous, but why don't you go ahead and give us a little bit of your background before we dive in here?
So I've been a treasury recruiter for 20 plus years. I know you wouldn't believe it. Who would have believed it? Yeah, loving that green. Oh my God. Yeah, my face, it lights up my eyes. That's what it goes with my beautiful green eyes there. Thank you very much, Ernie. That's why he's done it. Joke aside, yeah, I've been a treasury recruiter over 20 years. And we're talking today, as Ernie told you, about the global salary survey. It was something I wanted to do early in my treasury career. I started off with that lovely Excel, just doing this and 60 odd people. And then it got bigger and bigger. And now we're up at 600. We're going to be over the next year or so rolling it up to 1,000. It's amazing. We assess people from across the world, and it's people we know. So I assess, are you a treasury assistant through to a global treasurer? Ernie's got the results here, but it's great fun. And we, what we do as a business, we're treasury recruiters. So we're talking to people about if they're recruiting, they say, oh, we want to offer this salary. I'm like, you're below average. And they're like, oh no, we think no, your salary level, you're offering below average. You know that, right? And they're like, oh, how do you know that? And I said, well, we've surveyed 150 treasurers and you're at this level. Oh, okay. But do you want an average treasurer? Oh, we can get you one of those. This is what it will cost you. Or right at the bottom, so we give advice like that. So that's enough from me, Ernie. Back to you. This is your session.
Hey, no, it's your session. I'm going to let you lead. I'm going to try and be quiet for a while. One of the things that is really, I found particularly engaging about the survey is it goes beyond just the salary and what you're making. It asks people their sentiments about why you're happy, why you're unhappy. And so we've got this thing going on, I know, across the world, the Great Resignation. And so I think people are getting a little bit carried away with that. So I like the other parts of the survey. So it's much beyond that. I'll let you give a background, Mike, once we get there. So let me give the little roadmap here, and then I'll let Mike lead the slides, and I'll let him bring me in when he feels like I have something useful to say, which might not be often. So
I'll be in an hour, Ernie. That'll be a little bit later.
Yeah, we'll do a survey overview. And then Mike will drive us through some really interesting salary data, which you can't get anywhere else. I just want you to know, if you're interested in this data, you should go to treasuryrecruitmentcompany.com. Mike will give you the address and take the survey, just because we want to make sure that you are getting value from taking the survey. So we're not going to give this detailed information out to everyone. So please do that. Help support the survey and what Mike's doing. Benefits data, work from home policies and trends. And this is where I really enjoy it, the employee sentiments. And so with that, Mike, let me go ahead and turn the floor over to you.
So Ernie, thank you for that. It's not just a salary survey. It's not just about your salary. When I talk to people all the day long, they're saying, oh, does someone leave just because they're not being paid the right salary? And later on, you'll see about the sentiments. No, they don't. What they do is they say, well, and again, people don't leave because they don't like the cash management system, or they don't leave. They leave because they don't like you as a boss, or maybe you're not paying them enough, but that's way down the list. It's about, are you looking after them? Are they enjoying the work they're doing? Have they got career progression? Is it, and we'll come back to working from home. Is it that prior to pandemic, you were saying working from home, maybe flexible Fridays on an afternoon, and now you did 2 years of working from home and you're saying, right, guys, we're going back in the office for a few days a week. How many? What few days? Well, Monday to Thursday and Friday mornings again. Like, whoa, that's not working from home. So that's what we go through. But this was exactly here. We've got overall fulfillment, the why about the salaries. Now, one of the things Ernie just mentioned there, go to treasurysalary.com and we'll send you the full survey if you take part. How much does it cost you? 2 minutes of your time. Money-wise, it's free. It's amazing. It never closes. People have also said to me just on there, when does it stop? Well, we keep running it. We're running it. We ran it end of last year, 2021. We're now in 2022. We're running it again. We're improving it. We're widening it. We're going to run it again later on in the year. It keeps on growing. We're at 600 now. We're going to keep going up to 800. Right the way, East Coast, West Coast of the US, UK, Europe, Asia Pacific, right the way. So it goes right the way around. One of the biggest demographics you've got here, well, you've got all levels. And in actual fact, these have changed a little bit, or are changing rather, in the next survey. What I am noticing, we've created some other groups as well. You got the treasury analysts there and assistant treasurers.
Right.
Those have gone up a little bit. We've got a massive group of global treasurers because, you know, you guys want to be paid right. We've also got treasury assistants. All of these, it's a massive survey right across, from treasury assistant to global treasurer. And we split out some of them, but we can talk about that later as well. Demographics, yeah, biggest grouping is the US at the moment. That I think will change, but it will even up in a good way. So, you know, have an even number of, you know, people. When, you know, we got a lot of US clients who are asking me, they said, oh, Mike, we want to recruit into the UK. Do you know that market? Yes, we do. Do you know the European market? Yes, we do. We've recently recruited for one of our clients out in Germany. We're doing a load of work in Germany. Actually, it's really picking up out there. And one of the things the client wanted to know was, where are we on the salary scale? And actually, before we started, I gave him the salary survey. He'd taken part. He benchmarked his own salary, but that of all of his team as well. So it gives you a real good measure. But as Ernie shows you here, the United States, massive. You guys are 10 times the market than, say, the UK or Europe and things like that, because you have so many treasury professionals. And I can't wait to come to your conferences later in the year. So that's it. There you go. You got some of the states, not unexpectedly. New York is up there, Illinois, Chicago. So I do a lot of speaking out there when I meet with Ernie and have the odd beer or 7. And you've got the others, and it, you know, not dissimilar. Again, we're getting a lot more. These numbers are going to change, but in a good way. So actually, you know, a lot more. We've got it right the way across the US.
All right, let's get to it.
Yeah, your turn to get your own back. Here you go.
All right, go ahead, keep going. I just wanted to get to the goodies.
So I'm just looking at some of the numbers here, just to show you a little bit more. Where have we got here? Yeah, well, actually, that's one of the things. When people look at the screen, they're going to see, wow, these are little numbers. How do I see these? That's easy. Go to take part in the survey. We will send you, once we verify you are a treasurer or a treasury manager and whatever, and people have said, hang on, well, what is a treasury manager at one company? Might be a treasury assistant elsewhere, might be a group treasurer. So how do we assess that? I look at them. I've been in this 20 plus years, 25 years. So I will assess and I regrade some people. I'm sorry, guys, but if you might be, you know, say you're a treasury manager, you know, international treasurer and everything else, but you're being paid $40,000. Yeah, pretty much you're not a global treasurer. You're not in that category. So we will reclassify and stuff. But treasury assistant, it's obviously, it's the smallest part of our survey so far. And this is when you first get that, where someone asked me the other day, so, well, why is that? So because a lot of people get into treasury by accident. You don't plan, you know, I know that Ernie, the other day, you were talking at a university and sort of coaching those guys about the wonders of treasury. And it's a great thing to do and give back. And we try and do that. But then they're only just discovering the salary survey. So some of them will be treasury assistants, but some will be treasury analysts and dealers, which is the next category. Yeah. What was that like when you were sort of coaching those guys about treasury, Ernie? What was that like for you?
Yeah, it was a little bit of wonderment. So they really don't, it's not really a class that's taught. So it's actually in finance. So there's a whole class on treasury. So it was interesting to see. I think they were a little bit excited. Let me go back a minute, because I think this is a really important point about the survey. What Mike kind of mentioned is that he goes in and reviews every person that fills this out. So the data is extremely clean. Honestly, I don't think anyone else does that level to make sure that everything is apples to apples and everything looks right. And if it doesn't look right, he's not going to take it on. So these numbers, I have extreme confidence in what we're showing here. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there, just because the care that Mike takes in making sure the data is right before it's analyzed, I don't think anyone else does that. And that's why this is so interesting. So let's go ahead. So this is a little bit more, you can kind of see. Mike, go ahead and go min max a little bit.
Yeah, we've got in here, this is just some of the, you know, we look at the minimum ranges, and not dissimilarly, when we looked at some of the charts, actually I was working with my colleague Carl and we were looking at it, and he was pointing out and asking me questions, which was great. And he was saying, look, I've noticed that sort of Asia Pacific and Africa are some of the lowest regions. Well, it's a lower cost of living. Right. So, you know, relatively speaking, and so the salaries are lower. so your money goes further, but the standard of living is different as well. One of the things you should know as well, that we also look at exchange rates. So
Yes.
we produce a salary in 3 different exchanges. So we produce it in UK sterling, we produce it in euros, and we also produce it in US dollar. Funnily enough, our biggest 3 groupings. So that's what we do. And we, so you get access to all 3 salary, which all 3 currencies rather. This one, obviously, we got the US dollar. But again, you can look through there. You see, obviously, down in Africa, it's the, the lowest paid there. But as you come into North America, and we'll see this as we go, these are really guys starting really at the bottom rung. So it'd be interesting when we go to the next slide. Let's see if oh yeah, there it's it by magic. It's great. But we do 65 globally, treasury analyst dealers. We look at what they do. Again, Africa, one of the lowest, but the US already starting to come out on top. And you can see this when you go in there that, 70, well, we go up to North America, we got $90,000, highest for this category, but it goes all the way down to 40,000. So it covers right the way across the US as well.
Yeah, I think what you're getting at is, you want to make sure you're going apples to apples. So especially the cost of living in the US. So the cost of living is now with inflation, who knows, especially with real estate going up and down. So we always want to be careful, when we're taking this into our boss, hey, 90, and they goes, well, those people live in California. So, but amazing information to have. But those are the things Mike will dive in with you if you take the survey. So you'll get more of that detail. Yeah.
I need to jump in there and get exactly as you say. I was talking to one of our clients in California the other day, and they were then talking about, and everyone's pushed back about this hybrid way of working. And they're saying, well, actually, if you're going to work remotely for us, Google brought it out where they were saying they were going to pay different people in different areas a different salary. I personally think that's wrong. I see, if you choose to live somewhere differently, that's your choice. As long as you're doing the same work, why should someone who's doing exactly the same work, same contribution, and they say, well, we'll pay less. Well, that was when you had shared service centers moving out to the Philippines and to India and to lower cost countries. But they weren't doing the, if they were just doing the service-based business, that's fine, because it's a lower level of work that they're doing, not criticism, but it's actually when they're doing more processing or doing back office operations. Whereas if you're doing the same front office work, if you're doing the same value and evaluative work, that's one of the key things I'm seeing is Treasury, people are talking about automation. Yeah, automation's here. But what automation is doing is taking out the lower level work, and actually salaries are rising, not just because of inflation, like Ernie brings out, but actually because, and I can see this when I compare it against previous years as well. That's one of the other things we can give information on as well.
All right, let's go up the org chart a little bit here.
Yeah. So again, treasury managers, it's an interesting one because if you go to the ranges, the next one, if you would, Ernie.
Yep.
They're, massive range. In London, for instance, 61 to 123. And someone said to me, well, it's a treasury manager, 123. And we got asked this the other day by one of our clients. They said, well, we're going to treasury manager and, well, we're not going to pay 123. I said, no, you don't need to. The fact is, there is a treasury manager. And we looked at what this guy does, but he's been a treasury manager for 22 years. And he's happy in his job, but he's got his increases. He does a really good job. He doesn't want to be assistant treasurer. He's happy doing what he does, but he's one of the outliers, if you like. And we do have this both ways, this sort of bell curve, and we look at it. So if you think about it, the minimum 61, the maximum 123. Let's go to the US, North America, $72,000, $140,000. But they are doing the same job, but they're not doing the 70 and 140. They're doing different jobs. But the fact is, one has got more responsibility. One is, looking after more people. Again, we assess the person, look at them on LinkedIn as well.
Right. So just my personal experience, when I was a treasury manager, I didn't have great data like this, but I had some data, and I noticed I wasn't even on the chart. And then I'm like, whoa, if I'm not even on the chart, then I got Houston, we have a problem here, right? And so if nothing else, you're like, okay, apples to apples, like I should at least be in the middle, and I consider myself better, but it gives you a little bit of benchmarking, and you can share that with HR or something just to try and make sure that you're making an informed conversation, not an argument, but you're making an informed conversation with them. So those are the red flags that I looked for when I was back in as treasury manager.
And also, that's a good point there, Eddie. You brought up that some people have come to me and said, well, where do I fit on this chart? That's easy. Pick up the phone, ask us. We'll describe your role. We'll say, well, actually, your role sounds more like an assistant treasurer type role, or we'll get to that a bit later. But actually, your role is more treasury analyst, or you might be a senior treasury analyst about to make that first step to treasury manager. We'll give you advice, individual, because we've got we survey 160 treasury managers, and so it is quite a wide range. But we've got a lot. There's 160 people in there.
Yeah. Let me dovetail on that a little bit. The comment you made, which is really important, is that for me, I used to be a recruiter hater. I wouldn't have dreamed to call up a recruiter because they wouldn't answer my call. And so that's one of the reasons that I work with Mike, because I know he'll answer your call, and his company is not going to treat you like a transaction. It's a relationship. And so that's incredibly important, and that's a value add, and that's extremely rare, because I still see all these posts on LinkedIn and people are moving and driving, and that's great, if they're going to help get you in a role, but they're just trying to close a deal. They're not trying to make sure that you're getting the right role. They're trying to get that transaction and move on. Guess what happens when you call them? Again, they're going to be like, who are you? So I think that's important when you start to look at getting someone to help you, because now it's more important than ever that you get the right job, because there are more opportunities out there, right? So as a treasury professional, you need to make sure that you are presenting yourself to the job that you deserve. And I think you have a little bit more power now, in my opinion. What you think, Mike? The market, we have a little bit more say, maybe, I don't know.
Oh, totally. I think it's an employees market. And it varies. That's one of the things that, again, it varies according to location, according to what salary you want and everything else. It varies actually according to the conditions of an employer as well. One of the things I was talking to a lovely lady, actually, is going to be back on our podcast, and she was explaining to me that she'd been in transition herself, and you talked there earlier about LinkedIn and various other bits. LinkedIn the HR guys had put this advert on LinkedIn, and the benchmark salary was way below her. And she threw her hat in the ring, just said, look, this is my details, but I'm pretty much, I can see the averages it's showing you. And I'm double that. But they'd had 300 candidates because it's remote working and everything else.
Yeah.
She got on but then the HR team reached out to her straight away and said, actually, could you apply for the role? They're like, no. We know the benchmark is wrong, because we've been told and we've seen these people and they're not even close to what we want. So actually, that's where, you as an employee now, there's no reason not to engage with the employers. They put it up as this big notice board on LinkedIn. They got 300. Out of the 300, she asked, she said, well, how many other people are you interviewing? They went, none. Like, at 300, it's just that scattergun approach. It's just pointless.
Yeah. All right, let's go up I guess we're kind of, I don't know, a little bit parallel here. This is a new one here. Mike, how many people do we have in this treasury?
It's only 6 treasury accountants. Again, we've had more treasury accountants in the past. And there was actually a distinction, because we used to sometimes have them rolled in with treasury consultant, which is coming up in a moment. And actually I carved them out. Okay. So I said, look, is this person a treasury accountant, stroke treasury controller, and are they really looking after the books? I think it's also down to the fact, and it's dropped down. So if you go to the next slide, if you would, Ernie, you got there you go, treasury consultants. You've got 29 globally. Okay. Yeah. And I was actually looking at who does what. And actually, treasury accountant used to be one of our biggest, but it was actually mulched in with treasury consultant. We also had this massive range before of treasury consultant, and there you've got 41 to 175 at the top end. And someone said, oh wow, that's massive. Well, go to senior treasury consultant next, if you would, big man. Keep going. And there you got there you go, a 150 to 300. Now, who's a senior treasury consultant? Again, we'll give you individual advice. It's quite a difficult category in a way, but you can get some averages in there. But senior treasury consultant might be an interim treasurer, and they will be in on a consultancy basis. And, you know, some of those guys might be equivalent to a permanent treasurer. So we've, you know, a few of those we've put into that category, but this is where you're going in, you might be doing a 3 to 6 month contract, and you might be happening on capital markets, and you're getting pretty well paid. But the fact is you only work for half the year. So that's where people do that.
It's interesting to me. And let me know if you've seen changes or if this has always been the case. Because I've never really been what I consider like a consultant where I go into the corporation, but the bonus numbers are interesting to me that we see in the US and Canada. We see a bonus, right, as big as $100,000. I didn't know consultants were necessarily getting that heavy in the bonus category.
Yeah, I mean, we're not talking maybe the big four and, you know,
right, of course,
what I'm saying is that a lot of the time you'll have a completion bonus.
Okay.
And that's to retain it, particularly in this market, because a lot of the time we're saying to these guys, and they're saying, well, we want to keep this person for 6, 9, 12 months.
Sure.
So, you know, so they've got to say, well, and each day, so we'll give you this completion upon completion.
Okay.
So they're saying, well, actually, in 9 months in, they're getting a knock at the door saying, oh, do you want to come join us? They went, I'm going to stay here another 3. Why? Because I get 100 grand next quarter. Okay, I'm staying.
All right. Let's go to assistant treasurer.
Assistant. Well, it's an interesting one. So we've got assistant treasurer, and then you'll see in a minute. We don't go there yet, but we'll get to deputy treasurer. People have said, what's the difference? And also got international treasurer. So we'll go through those. Assistant treasurer assists. Yeah, right. You're going to get the next bit, right? A deputy treasurer deputizes. And like, whoa, what? Let me just give a bit more flavor to that. And I develop this. An assistant treasurer, if you're going to do a big deal or you're going to do some activity, an assistant treasurer will generally have to reach out to their treasurer, whether it be group or global treasurer, to get permission or go to their CFO. That's the sort of, it's about the level of decision-making and authority they're given a lot of the time. Deputy treasurer, not so much in a good way. So if you're a deputy, you will deputize. You know, someone might go away for 2 weeks. Say, well, actually, we've executed this deal. We've raised the bond. We've executed a boss. We've done all this. Oh, great. Thanks. Well, you're the deputy. Whereas an assistant assists, deputy deputizes. There you go. Good numbers on here as well. You know, globally, let's look at the US, North America, Canada. And when I know there's a repetition in London, the Southeast, it was just, we were getting, I wanted to get the figures across to Ernie today. We've cleaned that up on the other slides. Don't worry.
Let's take a snapshot of this. I want to see what the difference is with assistant treasurer and deputies. The next one, right?
Yeah, go for it.
Let's see, 293 to, let's total 101 to 263. Let's see where we go.
There you go.
Yeah, 145 to 329. Yeah, there's definitely a big difference there.
But I was also looking at North America. So if you go back, go back to the previous one, go back to, if you were assistant treasurer, just for the guys at home. Yeah, you're looking at 120 to 260 in North America, that is, and then skip ahead and you look at 173 to 329, 330, call it. Yeah. And it is because it's that next tier. You know, as deputy treasurer, I'd expect you to be running a team. Assistant treasurer, you might have team reporting to you, maybe, but you might not be managing them. It might not be leader. You might be nearly a leadership role. That's one of the differences as well. And we do it globally as well. You know, you've got 20 deputy treasurers, and there was a lot of stuff I was going into people's profiles and saying, is this person, and if you can go back a slide again, if you would for me, Ernie, assistant treasurer 68. Yeah, globally. Yeah. When I was looking at them, I was saying, right, actually, this person doesn't have that real deputy and look at them. Are they really operating at that level? Are they executing it? And we'll come up to it in a minute, if you would, skip a couple ahead to international treasurer or regional treasurer, as people get it. Again, it's a sort of similar-ish category to deputy. Stuck 79 people in there as a lot. But this, again, is based on my 20 years plus experience. And I'm going through people's job description. I'm going through their LinkedIn profile. I know most of the people. There's 600 people on that. I know most of them. I'm talking to them, a lot of them, some of them for jobs. And if you need to recruit people, call us. Anyway, move on. No, but don't move on slides. Stay on there. But international regional treasurer, again, it was the responsibility. You know, if your CFO is saying, look, you are my international treasurer, and, you know, you might be in charge of 15, 20, 30 countries, that's a real international treasurer. If you're in charge of 3 or 1 country, doesn't really make you very international, does it? So yeah, that's what we look at. Any questions or thoughts?
No, just interested to see how big some of the car things are, but maybe that's not going in there the right way. Looks
And what's that? Where are we going?
looks a little wonky for the car, Max.
Yeah,
Maybe
that's.
they,
Do you know why that is? That's well, I mean, Teddy, I
that's
need
okay.
to amend that. That was one of the things I noticed actually.
But
yeah.
the Min and Max still look good.
Yeah,
So
what's happened is we're London, the southeast. I noticed there was a problem on this. We're
yeah.
going to amend this. You know, this is good for the guys to see. Great attention to detail there, Eddie.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
we had I think basically we had someone whose their car is like
Yeah. Well, no,
it's like
depends on the,
£18,000 or
yeah,
something
it
like that.
depends on the country, right? Sometimes companies do stuff for accounting, so that's how they'll put it
Yeah,
in
but that's
there.
a heck of a car, believe me.
Yeah. Well, I know, but hey,
Yeah.
we go big or go home. So
No, we just need. In fact, that was the one that I noticed earlier. That,
yeah.
and I was like, hang on, we've got London Southeast twice, and I was like, oh yeah, sorry, oh, and it's corrected on the latest figures, but yeah, I just said, look, we've got to get this live because I knew we were doing the session. There you go, that's better. There you go. So everybody, yeah, mostly up to 16 yeah. As a max on car. You can see this group and global treasurer. That's a good one. We got 52 group treasurers. We'll come to global in a minute. Someone asked me what's the difference? I said, well, look, a group treasurer, we sometimes have of housing associations or non-profits, as you got them in the US as well, voluntary organizations. Not they don't get paid, but what I'm talking about is full-time working for, and sometimes group treasurers of higher education, some of them as well. They were more comparable to a group treasurer role. And people saying, well, what do you mean? Well, a group treasurer, a lot of the time, will be in charge of their university and the university funds and stuff like that. So one country, they'll have US dollar. Will they do foreign exchange? No. They're just one currency and that's it. Yeah. Whereas in the global treasurer, which is the top category, you'll see in a minute on treasury director, that's when, I talked to a couple of my treasurers. I'm joking with one of them the other day. They said they were talking at a networking gathering, and they went into this group, and this guy said, oh, he was the group treasurer. He said he was a global. He wasn't a global treasurer. He said, yeah, we've got issues in all of these 12 countries that I'm leading. And this lady, she sort of gently backed away. And I said, why? She said, Mike, I've got issues in 90 countries. She went, yeah, my scale of problems is on a different level. Yeah, and she's a global treasurer. And there you go. There you go. So that's
holy moly.
Yeah. So there's
someone's making bank, man.
Yeah, they're a big treasurer. And you can actually see, look at that bonus.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, that's got to be a Fortune 50 company probably or something.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. But I can't possibly comment, but I know them very well.
No.
And they're doing well. And actually, part of that, I think that will change next year, but it's transaction related as well.
Oh, sure. Okay.
Yeah. Well, they're being, because I talked to them, I said, wow, you're not skewing my figures, but you're pushing my figures a little bit. And they went, yeah, sorry about that. I went, no, it's valid. So it's it's an interesting one there. So yeah. What else do you want to know? Some well-paid treasurers.
Yeah, there you go. All right, let's get into some benefits data. People sometimes stop at salary, and I don't think they look at the total compensation, and sometimes it's harder to put a dollar value on the benefits, but people need to look at the total package here. So
yeah. So what do you want to know? Yeah, here we go. So who gets bonus? Well, this was overall. We used to do this and actually split it out according to each of the levels, but it made the survey too big. People were sort of saying, group treasurers get this benefit, treasury managers get this benefit. Right. I said, do you know what? Let's just do it across the piece. You notice there, we can actually retire a couple of these. It used to be a big thing, people getting travel allowances, season ticket loans. They're gone. They're mostly gone. So we're going to retire that on the next survey. But you got gym membership. That's quite a nice one. A lot of people have that. Obviously, pension contribution. It's more prevalent in UK and Europe, whereas, tend to give it more. But healthcare benefits, again, a big one in Europe. we may bring out some sort of splits between each of the categories, like UK versus Europe. We did that before. It was, what's the word? It didn't give us so much value. And that's what the survey is all about, value.
Yeah.
So again, if someone's saying, oh, can you tell me about this? Pick up the phone. We'll give you individual advice.
I'm going out of the box here, and I always like to make things too complicated, but did you ever, and I don't know the answer to this, did you ever look at how many weeks of vacation folks get, or is that baked in somewhere?
It's well, again, when we talk to US, you get 10 days.
Right. And
in Europe, you get
3 months.
No, UK, you get 25 days. Well, no, this is true. Well, I'm doing this big campaign. I was talking to one of the candidates the other day, and he's on 35 days holiday. And that's him. He's in Germany. He's doing a certain set number of hours, like 37 and a half or 35 hours. Can't remember exactly. Anything else, he earns above that. He gets paid time off. So year before last, when he was still in the office or still doing some COVID and everything else, he got amassed like 42 days holiday. And on top of that, there were bank holidays. I was like, I want to say, were you ever at work? I'm just like, 40 odd days. How'd you do that? I wouldn't get my job done. Whereas you guys in the US, I think it is, starting to change. I know you get a lot of public holidays, but you still don't get anywhere near as, UK and Europe. I think people are a bit more flexible. And I think actually one thing that COVID did and the pandemic was proved, you don't need to travel so much in and out of the office all the time. I think people are getting a bit more balance to their life. So I think that's one thing that's come through.
All right, let's go into a little work from home and see. This is interesting.
Ask me some questions. I'm bored of talking to myself.
Yeah. So working from home for me, I've been doing this a long time. So when you're talking to candidates, did you get any sentiments from them just from your conversations? Do they not like working from home? Do they like to be? I guess it might depend on the person. For me, I've always worked from home. In the US, we've always been against it. So I think it's changing, but just curious what you're hearing from your conversations, from employers and employee.
I want people to look at this survey and just imprint it on their mind for a minute. Currently, you've got there 100% working from home at the current time. And we actually started our survey way back last July. And actually, we're updating the figures. So these aren't figures from July. We've updated them since then. But when we first started this, my colleague Craig, he said to me, Mike, can we ask this working from home question? I was like, oh yeah, okay. Yeah, not thought about this. And he said, look, let's ask, how many days are they working from home currently? How many days, can you go to the next slide, Ernie? We'll jump around a few, keep going. Boom. How many days are they going back in the office? That's being told to go back in the office. So if you notice that, it's the opposite way, we should flip it around actually, but remote, and then keep going, next slide. And again, where do you want to work? That's the question. That's the doozy. So if you actually look at it, how many people want to be fully remote? You're talking only 15%. I want to not go back to the office at all. But people are, the majority, as you got there, 50% of people are happy with 1 to 2 days a week. Right, 1 to 2 days a week seems about right. Going in, collaborating with your colleagues and stuff like that. We go back a slide, if you would. There you go, back in the office. But how many people are asking them to go back in the office? You see in this, there's actually a push factor. Fully remote, great, but there's actually quite a few people going back saying, well, 22% want, or 60% want people back in 3 days a week. And they're like, whoa. So a quarter of employers just coming on saying, can you get back in the office, please? And I think there is a differential as well. I've noticed when I'm talking to US clients and companies and candidates, there's a head-to-head at the moment. I've got one of my clients, they're in downtown New York, and they were saying to me that they're happy to travel in themselves. The CEO, CFO, they're happy to travel in because they live there. Their treasury manager and one of their senior treasury people, they travel an hour and a half each way. And they're going, well, our CEO wants us back in. And they're like, well, we've just done 2 hours of not getting on the 2 years rather of not getting on the train. And now they're like, whoa, I've got a 3 hour commute, 15 hours a week. And already the treasurer's going, I've got some challenges here. So he's having to arm wrestle between and be that filter between them and say, well,
Right.
we can't go back all that way. And if you go back to the beginning, if you would, the next one before that as well, if you would, Ernie.
Which one?
Yeah, no, and there you go. So
yeah,
look at this. You're talking 40%. In fact, behind that. So if I put the 45% of people at the moment, and how many of you are working 0 days, maybe 1 day a week back in the office at the moment? Is it really hurting your productivity that much? You know, are you say we must be in 2 days? Why? You know, I have one of our clients in northwest part of America. Prior to lockdown, they were in the office 100% of the time. Lockdown came, 100% working from home for a year and a half, 18 months. They're coming out of lockdown. They're reopening the offices. And what are they saying? We want you back in the office. Well, I said, well, hang on, how was the productivity? And the HR director, she went, it went up, Mike. So hang on. So they were working from home remotely, and your productivity and results, actual results, monetary results went up. Yeah. So what are you doing from that? You know, monetary results, brilliant. They went, they want to be back in the office. I said, who wants to be back in the office? Well, the bosses, they like to. They're old traditional. I said, well, they're old traditional, aka broken, aka stupid, and they want you to go back in the office all the time. Yeah. But the results are better when you work from home. Yeah. We didn't recruit the job. We moved away. We were like, yeah, I don't think we can help.
All right, let's talk about employee sentiments here. This is what I find really interesting.
This is cool. Because if you look at it, well, very unhappy and unhappy. 30% of people are unhappy, or you know, so some people are really unhappy. Call me if you're really unhappy. We'll help you. Yeah. But generally, you know, 7 out of 10, roughly. 7 out of 10, you're happy. You're all right. You're doing, you don't mind it. Happy are very happy. 10% of you just coming on 10 or 9%, 10%, very happy. You're really being looked after. But the fact is, only 1 in 3 is going, oh, get me out of here. So it's not as bad as it is. I think it'd be interesting as time goes on about the work-life balance and base salary. That'll be telling over time. Who's the boss?
It's one of my favorite ones.
Yeah. So if you like, a lot of the bosses out there are doing a pretty good job. So like you're looking at that 80%. So that's 4 out of 5. You're doing a pretty good job. If you're one of the 20%, maybe try and find out if you're one of that 20%, what you're doing wrong. Someone asked me the other day, they said, well, how do I find out what I'm doing wrong? You know, confidential salaries, you know, confidential surveys, they're not telling me and stuff like that. I said, try and be them. I said, what would you like? What do you think, you know, they want to do? Have a sit down with them, have a coffee. Just, you can find out from people if they're not valued or they're undervalued. Say what frustrates them. So that's a good way of doing it.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I always tell people. It's like, I know it's painful, but the easiest way to find out is to ask someone a question. And then once you're honest with someone, they'll be honest with you. So you have to be authentic to yourself, or maybe you can say, you know, I'm looking for ways to get better this year. I want to work on my professional development. What are things that I can do to offer more value? And your
one thing I'll chuck in here as well, Ernie, is that it's an interesting one because you know, I do the podcast every week. So go to treasurycareercorner.com. I speak to a treasurer. We've done 200 podcasts. It's amazing. Past 3 years. And I talk to treasurers and I say, right, now you manage this team. Yeah. And you've grown up your treasury career. You've done this 15, 20 years. Yeah. Great. And now you're managing a team of what? How many? And they said, well, 8, 12, 15, 30 people. Brilliant. How much management training have you had? None. I'm like, what? Hang on. You're managing 30 people, high performing people, individuals. You're meant to mentor them, lead them and everything else. Yeah. And you've had how much training? None. And I think there's a big gap there. So when you're watching today, that's an area to get into. Yeah. But what I would say is that 4 out of 5 of you, 8 out of 10 of you are doing a pretty good job. You know, and this is through a pandemic. So I give yourself that pat on the back. I think you're doing pretty well, you know, to get through that, you know,
well,
storm.
I take the other side of it a little bit. I'm probably causing friction, but I like to educate people on what they deserve. So That's the other side of it here. This is another one. Are you happy in your current role? About the same, right? As we saw with
Yeah, a
base
little bit
salaries,
different. I
but
think it's,
yeah,
30% are unhappy.
yeah,
And they were the people we're talking to a lot of the time. They're actively looking.
right.
But I got asked by a client the other day that we were talking about recruiting for them in the US. And they were saying, oh, we've done this on LinkedIn and da, da, da. And I said, do you know what? You get the 10%. I said, what do you mean? I said, you get the 10% of people that are actively looking for a new Treasury role, and they're out there, they're putting their resume, they're really banging on the door. I said, oh yeah. I said, I don't talk, well, I do talk to them on occasion. I said, who do you talk to? I said, I talk to the 90%. The 90% that will answer the phone to me, that I will come up with a job opportunity. And I do that. You see me do this Windy City Summit and various conferences. And I say, how many people in the room are comfortable? If you are, put your hand up if you're looking for a role. And 1 in 10 hand goes up. I said, okay, put your hands down. I said, right, how many people, if I came to you with the perfect opportunity and a great pay rise and this and a boss and this, da da da. And I said, how many of you would answer my phone call? Not saying you take the job, but how many? And I know some of you will be sitting next to your boss. Get your boss to put their hand up as well. Yeah. And usually we get about 80%. I said, do you know what? You lot are lying. I said 95%. You other people that put your hands up, and we laugh and joke. But it's true. If the right opportunity comes up, and you might be perfectly happy, but you'll still entertain the phone call because if it's going to take you to the next level of your career, that's who we do, the passive marketplace.
Right. Let's take a look at this. Is also some things that I really like about why you're happy, and then you flip the script and the other side of it. But this is really always interesting to me.
So we ask happy and unhappy. Do the happy bit. So it ain't about the money. You can show them the money, but the fact that only 1 in 10, 11% are actually really care that much about the salary. It's about who you are, the work-life balance. That's obviously become key, and your team around you, the work you're actually doing, and then it comes on to salary. Then it's about workplace. I think that's gone down. That used to be higher, but I think that, that's what COVID's taught us, that actually you don't have to be in the office, but that's actually quite nice and welcoming. And your achievements and that, how you're getting on and developing. It's quite an even spread. But what I would say is if you're looking at 1, 2, da, 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 so we're looking at 18, 60, 30, 50%, 50, 60%, 70% ain't about the money. It's about all the other conditions. That's why people are, and this is the happy gang. So if you're happy, let's look at the unhappy gang. Well, we used to have some smiley faces. I got rid of those. Still like them. There you go. If you're unhappy, why? And do you know what? It's not even on there. Competitive lack of salary. The weird thing is that it doesn't actually make that list. That's it's amazing. Actually less because I think we've dropped it off now because it was like 1% were, if you're unhappy, it was about the salary. It's achievements, about work life. It's careers. It's a quarter of people saying, where are they going to go next? Over a quarter saying, what's the next step?
What really stands out to me here, which I got to write a blog about this. I get tired. I get tired of seeing everyone say people quit because of their boss. I don't think it's that. I mean, it's not unimportant, but look at that. It's 15%, right? I know that it's 372, but I don't hear that a lot from people, right? I mean, I guess what you can say is you can blame your boss for the other stuff, right? But you shouldn't be blaming your boss because you have career, some of that's on you. So I think that's an issue that we have here in the US, I know. So, all right. So let's go for some key takeaways here. Give us some fine points.
I know the market's booming. It's great. Yeah. Salary is rising. Is that just because, the market is booming? That's a factor on it, but it's a recovery post-COVID. So that is another thing. I do think that the legislation in America is rebalancing the framework slightly. Not all the way there yet, where you're not allowed to ask someone their past salary, this is to, redress the gender imbalance. But I do think it's also, there's also a flip side as well, because you're not allowed to, you're allowed to say what your expectation is, but, you bear in mind, keep it a realistic expectation. I just had a candidate the other day, and he said to me, well, I don't want to tell you my salary. Why do you want to know my salary? I said, well, because this is in Europe, you're allowed to ask it. I said, well, you don't have to tell me your salary. That's fine. I don't mind. I said, but I'll put you forward to the client. They'll make you a job offer. It might not be what you want salary wise. He wouldn't even tell me his expectation at one stage. And I was like, I'm working blind here, fella. You know, it was like, and then I said, don't tell me. I said, but when you get later on in the process and then they underpitch you or you don't give you the right salary, don't complain to me. And do you know what? He said, oh, actually, I'll give you my compensation. All I wanted to do, it's in my interest to place the guy. Yeah. But actually what he did, it was quite challenging because he's then come in as well and he wants a 50% increase on his base at the moment and better conditions. I'm like, is this guy? No, it's not going to work because his expectation is too high.
Yeah.
And also competition is increasing. Now, someone said to me, well, you know, but there are 300 applicants going for one of those jobs. Yeah. And, you know, yes, you're an individual, but you're not the only one. You're one of everyone. That's one of the keys. Thoughts, Ernie? Are you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a nuance there, right? There's two dimensions to competition, right? Are there people that are really good, right? Is it the number or is it the quality of people that are? And I personally, I did a little survey on LinkedIn and it said a lot of people, I think it was 30 or 40% quit last year, will quit this year. So I think maybe in the past, I thought the number was going up because it was easier to apply for LinkedIn. But now I think the quality is also going up. So that's the point that I would kind of stress.
But also what you're seeing is, you know, I talked about the 300, but that was a completely remote job.
Yeah.
When actually we're getting jobs that location wise, they want you to be in a couple of days and, you know, and rightly so, because they want teamwork, they want some collaboration and stuff. And I applaud that. I think that's a good thing and stuff. But one of the things I was going to say that what's been happening is that as we went into the pandemic, you know, you'd see those adverts and they'd have 150 people. And then halfway through, it was like 100 people. Then it was 50. And now we're coming out of it. People have more opportunity and they don't have to walk through your door. We just had a situation with one of our clients today. And they said, well, I took a pay cut for my latest role. You know, I did this. And I can't say who it was, but the fact was we were like, well, more for you. Like you took a pay cut and it was the right role for him at the time and everything else. But this is a rising market. Candidates don't have to take your job. They vote with their feet or they don't move. They don't vote with their feet. They don't go, oh yeah, I want 20% less. I've got my bills are going down, aren't they? No, they're rising. Yeah. Oh, okay. So, and yes, there might be an opportunity. Sometimes if it's the right move and you say, well, look, it's actually a move, I'll bounce and come up. That's brilliant. You know, if you've got that confidence, if it's the right move, great. But the fact is, you know, you guys need to make it attractive to people.
Right. Yeah. Just a couple other things, you know, which we saw, you know, people value the, I call it the flexibility. And companies in the US, you're a boss, you need to fight for your people because as Mike said, the productivity is going up. So don't be afraid to push back on that. If someone wants you to go in the office, you want to go why, and also kind of going in to a job or relationship, just really understand your value. Because if you started a company and you're undervalued, you're never going to catch up. So make sure that you're going in at the level and you have what you want. Because once you're at a company, it's really hard to catch up. That's something that I experienced in my career. And I think one of the big things for me is that I think people are thinking about it, but I don't think those of us who talk to people stress this enough. There's more dimensions to your job happiness, right? Think about what really matters to you. And I still see people jumping around in jobs, and I don't really think they're thinking through really all the dynamics. The grass is always greener. Look at our green thing here. Well, it's not. So understand what you're getting into. Even in today's world, when there's an opportunity, there's a reason. Make sure you understand the reason. If you think you're not walking into a mess, you are in another reality, everyone, because there's a reason for that. So try and make sure that you are as informed as possible on that. So I would add that. So Mike, given all that we've talked about here, let's move away from compensation side, from just someone who's positioning themselves right for a new role. They're opening to consider it. What are the 2 or 3 things that people you see they do wrong? Or flip side, what are the 2 or 3 things that people need to be thinking about all the time to make sure that they're getting these organic opportunities? So how do I get a call from Mike, even though I'm not looking? What am I doing that's getting your attention and sets me apart? Maybe that's a better way.
Ernie, you and I started in an age, long ago in a galaxy far away. But anyway, let's not get into that. That's that's Star Wars, Star Trek. I'm not doing that. Yeah, we'll talk about that at a totally different time. But joking aside, we were pre-LinkedIn. When I started to connect with Treasury professionals from a directory. That's how I got to know them. And you had to go to conferences, not to virtual forums, to conferences face to face. Now you can go to virtual forums like this and get all the other value from the LinkedIn session. You've got all the other stuff and interviewing and all that stuff. And I'm not just gonna, beat the drum for that. But the reason I'm making that point, it's like you've said there, Ernie, is someone said to me the other day, another client, and he said, "Oh, I'm looking for my next opportunity, Mike." I said, "Well, that's fantastic, but you don't exist." He's like, "What? No, well, I'm here." I said, "Yeah, but people aren't coming knocking at your door." He's like, "Well, no, because I don't really do social media, right? But you don't exist. How can someone find you?" Well, they network with me. They talk to my bankers. I said, "Yeah, because they're really going to find you, aren't they? Type your name in, and there's nothing there." I said, "Unfortunately, rightly or wrongly, LinkedIn is there. So you need it as a shop window, and it needs to be a decent shop window, not that's dusty with the blinds down and everything else. It's a sales tool for brand you." And both Ernie and I have talked about this, that if you have a decent LinkedIn profile, and it doesn't have to be OTT and everything else, you go to our website, treasuryrecruitment.com, we've got treasurytv.com. And again, we've got bits about doing your LinkedIn, doing that. You've got the rest of the forum. Ernie's got some great sessions here. And you've got to make that powerful. And then when someone comes to you and says, "Oh, can we have a chat?" Or "Could I have a look at your resume?" Have a nice resume. And again, you'll get tips on that. So it's all a sort of a pipeline. And then when you go to the interview, I know Ernie's done a session about interviews. You've got to have all those things in a line. You've got to have that pipeline worked out. Because if you don't, your colleague who's looking at the same job will get that job ahead of you. Why? Because they've got a good LinkedIn profile. They've got a decent resume. When they went for interview, they had a good story to tell and they get the job offer. And how did they get the right job offer? Because they take part in our salary survey. And how did they do it? Well, they said, "Actually, I'm at this level and I want this." Oh, and it's amazing. And you talked about competitive salaries there. And you said about getting in a job, Ernie, and saying, well, you didn't have, maybe back in that day, and now bring it up to date. If you'd had our salary survey, you could have said to your boss, "Right. Boss, all these other people, well, what's your independence?" Well, it says this, right. And I'm not even at the bottom rung of this. Oh, okay. Well, and that's where we, help. So that, those are the key tips. I would say, think about brand you and getting out there in the universe. Your thoughts, Ernie?
Yeah, exactly. So let me just wrap up the session here with a few comments. One of the things that I've tried to do over the past couple of years is be more supportive in terms of career management. And so that's not my thing. So what I'm trying to do to you is get you interested in career management and give you some good content. If you really want to take control of your career and manage your career, you should go to the Treasury Recruitment website, www.treasuryrecruitment.com. You should talk to Mike and you should talk to Katie. So I'm trying to give you exposure to what matters. Make time for it, make the effort. You will be happy. You'll take control of your career. And so, Mike, this is our last session. I want to thank you for all of your support as being a thought leadership partner of mine. And I sincerely appreciate you sharing, being open to sharing and collaborate with me and help everyone take control of their career. So thank you, Mike.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you, Ernie.
All right, everyone, make the rest of your day great. And until next time, my friend,